Whoops, got the wrong one there. Hey, if you're listening to technical difficulties on a Monday night at 8 p.m., that means it's time for another episode of FM Rager. I'm your host, Connor Clifton, joined as always by my lovely co-host, Ned Gale. Ned, how the heck are you?
Feeling pretty good for Monday. Feeling good for coming back from New Orleans, I'll tell you that.
Oh, now, you're putting the cart before the horse there. You got to let me ask.
My bad.
Ned.
I'm pulling it back.
How was your freaking weekend?
It was great. I went to New Orleans.
What? What'd you do?
It was good. Swimwear department played a house show over there at this I know the record label or a collective is called Bluna Corp. I don't know if the house itself had a name. We've talked about party houses having their own names.
That's true.
So I'll say I partied at Bluna Corp. It was a very small, crust punk house. One car garage. When we pulled up, we're like, oh my gosh.
Now, for the listeners at home, what is crust punk?
Crust punk is life. Crust punk is generally. How do you define a crust punk? You just have to look and smell it.
All I know is what a trust punk is. I don't know what a crust punk is.
A play on.
Yeah.
An anarchist, someone who's generally probably wearing the same clothes every day, probably not showering. That's where the crust terminology comes from. It usually a heavy DIY punk, gutter punk, something like that.
Yeah.
But I dig that crowd. It was a fun. Right when we pulled up, I was like, "Oh, this is not what I thought we booked." But let's do it.
Swimwear
Let's tear it
department is very, very far from crust punk. I feel like.
Yeah, it was a DIY show. A lot of folk punk bands.
Yeah.
A lot of kind of soothing indie bands. So it was a right fit for us sonically, just the location wise. Also, the garage was super short. And our keyboard player, Jeremy, is 6'5". So right when he walked in, his head was just scraping across the top.
I saw the footage of that. That was very funny.
It was real fun to see us all kind of jumping and just constantly hitting our heads. But it was good. It was fun. And on the way back, Jack and I took a fan boat tour of the swamps because we felt like we didn't get enough Louisiana. And it was great. I had a really good tour guide.
Yeah? What was that tour like?
It was... just kind of weird. The crocodiles were all coming out, or alligators rather, were all coming out of hibernation. Please. We're all coming out of hibernation, so there weren't too many of them. But our host was very excited to show us different gators that he had on call, as he kept saying. He's like, I got them on my dollar. Come out here. Everywhere he pulled, he would always, it looked so bad outside. All the leaves were gone, so it was just this real surreal gray plain of water and all these leafless trees. And he just kept being... Look at all this beauty. You're driving around, stop. It would look the exact same as it was 5 minutes ago. Once again, look at all this beauty.
I bet he has a PhD in biochemistry or something. He's like, I left it all behind for the swamp.
For this beauty.
Sounds like you really
He was pointing
enjoyed
at the cedar trees and stuff, and he's like, he's used to go for a lot of money back in them days. Look at that tree over there. There's a big old sack of money hanging out the ground. He was great. I loved him. There's a guy there who clearly, it was me and Jack and then several old people and then one dude who several times in the tour he just kept saying, you're the best, Johnny. And at the end it slipped him a 20 and he's like, another good one, Johnny. So I think he just writes that every week.
That guy was high. It's man, this is my favorite thing to do. Now, Friday night, what did you do Friday night? I feel like we hung out.
We just hung out at the house, I think. Did
That's
we do
right.
anything
Friend of the show, Rahul, came over and we got burgers. I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Never
the old
mind.
Shake Shack.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you do this weekend?
Well, Saturday I canvassed for the candidate I like.
Right
went around Greens Point, knocked on some doors. Not many people opened them. The ones that did, not exactly happy to see me. But, hey, that's the political process of this wacky country we call the U.S. of A.
And next week we will be canvassing for Effin Rager to get more people to listen to the show.
That's true. We're back in the campaign. We suspended for a little bit, but we didn't drop out.
Yeah.
After Super Tuesday, we're back in it. Then I got Korean barbecue. My second time getting Korean barbecue.
Nice.
I love it. I think it's here to stay.
Yeah.
I think they're doing something right with the barbecue.
You're just really into the DIY culture, man.
Huh? No, I didn't touch the tongs. It's it's so hot.
I did make Joel cook it when we went at work.
The first time I did it, it was I didn't talk about this last week, but I went on a bachelor party to Vegas, and it was a bunch of guys, some alpha males, and so of course when we went to the Korean barbecue place, the alpha males were fighting over who got the grill, which was great for me.
Boys, you can all cook my meat.
Yeah, like I said last week, I was legally high for the first time, so I got to just sit back and watch people make me
just
food.
Anything.
It was like being at Benihana, to be honest. It was great. And then Sunday, I didn't do much. Piddle farted around until you got home, and by the time you got home, I'd watch Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and then when you got home, we watched Fast and the Furious.
Yep, the fourth installment.
Wednesday, we'll be watching Fast 5, and we're just going to be going around.
Yeah.
But, it was pretty fun. It was a pretty fun weekend. I felt really good about getting out there and doing something for a cause that I really like.
Yeah.
And speaking about people who do things for a cause that they really, really like, really, really care about, your guest today has a charity comedy night coming up called Ha Ha for Hope. This is the second one. It's going to be on March 4th, 2020, but that's enough details for me. Why don't we let him give you more details? Please, everybody, give it up for our guest today, comedian Brian Gendron. Hey, Brian.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
Connor. Thanks for having me on the show.
Not a problem. Thanks for coming on. How was your day? How was your freaking weekend?
My freaking weekend was interesting. I didn't party. I didn't rage. In fact, my wife was out of town, so I had two boys, one of which is almost 5, and the other is 17 months yesterday.
Wow.
So that's the kind of party I had.
That sounds like a rager, to be honest.
At times, it was we raged pretty hard. We went to Herman Park, did the zoo. We actually went to 2 museums in one day, which is raging.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What museums did you hit?
So we went to the Natural Museum of Science and found out that our season passes were expired at both places.
That's where the rage comes in.
Yeah, that was $300 later. But it was good, man. We had a great time. My wife was gone for 4 days, so. Yeah.
Military. And organizing a show, too. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. I feel bad for divorced dads who have to do this every other weekend.
Do they still have that Lego exhibit at the Natural History? Or what's going on there right now?
We didn't get to explore very far. Honestly, I went in just for the parking.
Yeah.
And so they got me. They're like, you can either pay $20 to park or you can get a membership. And so, in fact, we walk through, and if you have a kid, you walk up this ramp, and you can actually just go to the museum at that point. You can just con the system. So, but we're good, honest, we're hardworking people, so we don't do that. But they had that whole room, which used to be trains and everything. When you walk in, it's cleared out. It is completely empty.
I haven't been in there in years. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, if you get a chance and we didn't go to this last time, but we did the quick tour through the dinosaur museum.
Yeah, saw the bones.
Kid loves dinosaurs. But if you get a chance, go up to the Weiss energy exhibit on the top floor. It's pretty fantastic.
Nice. All right. And what was the other? You said you did natural history and then
and the zoo.
Zoo. Right.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Favorite animal? We got top animals in the.
My favorite animal. Let's just say the giraffe.
Giraffe.
It's so big, man. It's so cool.
A giraffe is an animal that I could see it. I could imagine it. But every time I'm in front of one, I'm like, what the hell? It's so crazy looking.
It's the one animal that can't fit my house. Like, even the elephants, we have a wide enough door where the elephant could get in. Like, the giraffe is impossible for it to fit in my house.
I could tuck and roll, maybe. I don't know.
Possibly.
I went to the zoo at night once when they were doing the zoo lights.
Yes.
And I got, the special access thing one day, and so we went by our tour guide brought us by the animals that weren't necessarily part of the exhibit, and we got to see the giraffes at night. And they were wide awake. And, they had these red lamps on. They were just moving around. It was very strange.
Effin raging.
Yeah. They were up all night. They were slamming their heads into beers. So
have you ever seen giraffes fight before?
I want to.
Do you know Gavin at Secret Group?
I do.
Yeah. He
fights giraffes.
He's always fighting giraffes. No, he did a video for a Neobitchy show over there, and he used some footage of giraffes fighting. And I highly recommend Googling it. They just they whip neck to neck. It looks so painful.
That's how Ned and I have started dealing with our home conflicts.
Yeah.
We just whip our necks into each other. It sucks. Okay, so after the zoo, did you do anything else? Did you take them out to eat?
Yeah, let's see. We went out to eat, of course. We moved. We live off Shepherd, and I realized I'm an incredibly liberal parent when I was pushing my kids at 6 p.m. So all the way down Shepherd to Amy's ice cream. Okay,
yeah.
You know where that is.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a really bonehead dad move because it was a 27-minute walk and it was dark on the way back and we had no reflective, no light up, no anything. Ooh. And on the way there, I had my one kid on a scooter, no helmet, of course. And then I had the other kid not strapped in. And at one point, he was at the edge, like E.T. in the basket, just. And then, I'm like, if my wife saw this right now, or if she's listening to this, I am so dead.
So if you are listening listening right now, you can call in at 713-526-8737.
Yeah, why not?
Give them an earful. You know?
Yeah.
Just call CPS directly.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, but we went to Amy's. Where else? We ate everywhere, man. When the wife's out of town, why cook? You know.
Yeah.
We got we went Torchy's last night with the family, so that was after she was back. I'm trying to think where else we went. We Hot Bagel Shop, one of the few good bagel shops.
Hot
in
Bagel.
Hot Bagel. We are high.
We're big fans.
This is not a sponsored ad. Hot Bagel is the best bagel in Houston.
I think so, and it's 2 blocks from my house, so that's an easy one.
I truly envy you. We have to go out of our way to get it, and we do go out of our way.
We do have to go out
frequently.
of our way. Yeah. Oof.
And we just went everywhere in walking distance. So I'm trying to think where else we ate, but yeah, it was a good time with the boys. The youngest though, he's 17 months, and he sleeps in the bed. And I've got a whole bit about this. If you ever come see my comedy. But he's going through something. I'm not sure what. But so he was up all night, kept me up all night. Even last night when my wife was back, he's still up. And then he does these things where he's right in your face and doing his hot coughs. Like, so I'm on very, very limited sleep.
That's kind of how I let Connor know I needed to change my water.
Yeah.
Just like, like over him while he's sleeping.
Yeah, he can change it himself. He just wants me to know that that's what he's doing.
It's like, if you hear any sloshing outside, I'm changing my water.
Now, before we get into the meat of what this show is about, which is partying, I wanted to take a moment to actually talk about Ha Ha for Hope.
Yeah.
So what is, for our listeners, what is Ha Ha for
And
Hope?
I can actually pull up the graphic here. Let's get this going.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. So Ha Ha for Hope started last year. It's actually an interesting story, and I'll keep it as tight as I can. I do quite a bit of nonprofit work, and one of the nonprofits that I work with, and I won't name their name, came up to me and said, "Hey, Brian, we want you to put together a comedy show." And I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this.
Can do.
Yeah, no problem. And, I was a fairly new comic at the time, so it's one way to kind of, make your way into the scene and start booking some people. And,
Yeah.
So that was exciting to me, but and plus we had the force of this nonprofit behind it, so it was going to be successful. So we booked the venue. We booked it at the Secret Group. We booked a bunch of great comics. I guess some friends of the show, like Zod, we talked about earlier, and Sun Tran, and Grady Pruitt, Jesse Payton, a bunch of great comics. And we started selling tickets. We started selling sponsors. We were already in the black on this event. And then one day, I remember I was preparing for meetings. I have a day job. I don't just do comedy, unfortunately. And I get a call from the executive director of this nonprofit, and she said, "Brian, we're not doing Ha Ha." And I said, "What are you talking about?"
What?
We are actively doing Ha Ha. We're in the black.
It's happening.
Yeah. She's like, "No, I was up all night last night, and I Googled some of the comics, and they had offensive material online, and we don't want to offend our donors." I said, "I get it. Totally get it. I really do. I get it. Let's rebook the show. I have a couple meetings I got to get through, but, in the afternoon, I'll rebook it. I got clean comics, and we'll make this thing happen." She's like, No, we're just not going to do it. We're shutting it all down. We're giving everybody their money back. I'm like, what is wrong with you? So anyway, I slept on it, and I'm like, look, the people that were kind of put it together with me, I'm like, don't shut it down just yet. Don't tell the Secret Group. Let me think about if I want to take this thing.
Yeah.
And I decided I'd do it on my own. So I reached out to another nonprofit that I know called Sky High for Kids, a good friend of mine, Brittany Hebert, and I was like, hey, look, I got the show booked. I'd like to keep it intact as is. Do you mind? Would you take our check earned by filthy jokes? And she said, Brian, the filthier the better. So
these schlubs.
Yeah. So we went for it. It was October 16th. This is last year. We sold 130 tickets,
nice.
On a Wednesday night, full room over there in the main showroom, and had a great night. We only raised about $2,000 for the cause, but $2,000 telling dirty jokes is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was the first one, and then I decided, hey man, let's try to do this again. I surveyed the audience and said, what did you guys like about the show? How can we make it better? And overwhelmingly, I got, give us food service at the tables, which they don't do at the Secret. They don't even have food at the Secret Group, right? Although we did have Scotty Peterson. I don't know if y'all know him.
Oh, yeah.
Came in and cooked barbecue, and it was
the
incredible.
best barbecue. Those ribs are undeniable.
That's it. BBQ is terrific. But they wanted, table service, and they wanted, they said a comedy competition would be good to add. So I started kind of using that data and got it booked at the Improv, the Houston Improv.
Nice.
And so that's the show that's coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And
let me full screen this guy again so we can really look at it.
Perfect. And then just, one last piece before we get into a little more detail. What I did was said, hey, I do a lot of nonprofit work with children-related causes. And so I allowed people to, I said, look, we're going to raise $10,000. And that's our pledge. If you're interested in working with us, submit. And we had 4 nonprofits submit.
Awesome.
And, and then I had a committee, and we selected the one that we thought was the best fit, and it was the Hearts Company, which is they do these projects where they go. They've done Cambodia. This particular one that we're raising money for is Bali, so Indonesia, and they build elementary schools, providing some computers for. So if you ever traveled to Bali, I haven't. I would love to. So like if you think of Bali, blue waters, snorkeling, all the fun stuff. Well, like it's super poor in like the northeastern part of the island. Like the one town, Tyrannar, that we're raising money for, just got a road. So that kind of poverty, right? And 18 grand bills a school. So hopefully on Wednesday we can just get to that school. That would be pretty dope.
Man, I hope so. That's
about halfway there.
That's
right
a big goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, the last one you did was in October. 4 or 5 months later, we're having another one.
Yes.
So how often are you looking to do these?
Great question. Yeah. So I'm going to do another one in the fall.
Okay.
So volume 3 is already being thought through.
Wow.
You know how we're going to do it. I'll tell you what. I'm done doing Wednesday nights. Like, this is a grind.
It's a tricky night.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's good for the venues, obviously, because it's a slower night for them. So, but now I think it flips, right? If we have 2 successful events, now we're in the driver's seat.
You got the pole. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to do it on a weekend, and I think that'll really allow us to have the size event that we're dreaming up. So I'm hoping I can throw a number like 25K in the next one. Don't quote me on that just yet. But I think we can do it.
Hit the dump button.
Yeah.
Dump 15K. All right, keep that one. But we'll do that probably around the October timeframe. That was a great time of year, and then that'll be volume 3 here locally in Houston. And then I'd love to get a format that we like as far as in-show fundraising. So the way we're doing it is we have a comedy competition, 6 guys. I made a cool wrestling belt. I should have brought it.
Oh man,
it's good. Yeah. And then whoever wins that, and the way that the audience votes with their donation dollars. So
that's awesome.
So that's the way. That's one way we think in-show fundraising can be really creative and neat.
Yeah.
In addition to if you donate a certain level, like $50, I have to read whatever you send, and a Twitter amount of 140 characters or less.
Yeah.
If you do 25, we just shout out your name, that kind of stuff. So some audience engagement and interaction. And then we'll continue to think about how we can do in-show fundraising, add additional value to our sponsors to help us get to that next level.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So the idea would be we would take it and sell it to, or sell it, but apply for comedy festivals. So be able to take it outside of Houston.
Great.
That's great. That's a good plan.
Now, you said that you've worked in nonprofits before. How has your experience working in the nonprofit sector helped you with getting this going?
Yeah, for sure. So I've actually, in a past position, board position that I had, I co-chaired a gala, which I'll never do again. But so the 200-person party and big fundraiser event hotel downtown, had some really cool speakers from the Astros and stuff, and it was great. But this is at least a little bit more. I really enjoy comedy, and more nights a week than not. I'm doing open mics or showcases and that kind of stuff. So. But taking that experience with, how do you sell sponsorships? How do you go for the ask? How do you provide value? All that stuff kind of comes from that world and that experience.
Now, how are you looking to grow Ha Ha for Hope out?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is first, critical is selecting the right charity partners. I can't speak highly enough of the Hearts Company and how critical they've been and how on board they've been. And I think the secret is finding a nonprofit that's fairly new, that hasn't established their own programming, right? So they don't have their own events that they have each year. They're still, a couple years in, and they're still trying to figure that out. They can really use a boost in fundraising. And so in a lot of ways, it helps them early on establish maybe their own ideas about how they can fundraise and do events, whether it's comedy or not, right? So, but I'm involved, like I co-chaired that gala back then, and I've done several other events. I actually just had a chili cook-off with another Casa de Esperanza. We did over 50 grand as a young professional organization at the West End over in the Galleria area. That was last Saturday. We won best booth, Netflix and chili. It was I really showcased my Photoshop skills.
Be good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. My favorite post. I had these posters. There were probably 24 by 16 posters.
Yeah.
Orange is the new black pepper. Nachos instead of narcos. Like that type of stuff. So.
Oh my God! You're all set for a food truck. All you need is puns. That or a podcast, and then you're set.
That's right.
Now, I love the three-pronged approach that you have going on here. You're helping the charity, you're helping the beneficiaries of the charity, then you're helping the comics that you're putting on here by giving them the stage time.
That's right.
What I book shows, I know the many things you have to think about at once whenever you're like producing a show. What goes into your process of selecting the talent?
Sure. Yeah, good question. I think it's evolving because once you have something successful like this, and then they see how well it's marketed and how well I put the comics out front. I spent a lot of effort in giving them a lot of exposure.
Yeah, I love that they're all up front, like on that flyer. I mean, just pulling that up. I love seeing Trey's face, like right when you opened it. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just one. I mean, if you followed like my story, or if you followed, on Instagram, I mean, for the last month, I mean, it's just been using different shots of these guys on stage. Last time I did video, which I should have done this time, it's just there's only so many hours in the day. Right? But they get a lot of great exposure, and so I think what I'm going to do is have it be a submission next time, just because I have a lot of comics interested in it. And then I have a committee, so then it's not just Brian making it. I can, it'll be by committee. But in the past, it's just comics that I think are really funny. I knew Grady Pruitt was somebody that I knew when he was in high school, right? And so I've booked him a few times. I've only really done a few shows in addition to Haha that I've produced, and Grady's been on both of them. This is the first time I've left him off. But I brought his good friend Trey. And just Trey. I mean, God, man, Trey. Having watched Grady for years, and I've only been in comedy for just under a year now, but I've been going to Rudyard's. In fact, I'll be heading there after this.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But he's one of the people that caught my attention early on, years ago, when I was watching Grady come up, getting started. Tim Williams, gosh, I mean, he's just such a friendly guy, funny on and off stage, and he's been in the game for a long time. People don't realize he's been in comedy for as long as he has, because he's been in Australia for the past couple of years.
Dang.
But he's incredibly funny. And then Corliss DeLauren, who's a special guest, is just one of the more supportive people in comedy. Her laugh, like when nobody else is laughing, you can often hear Corliss in the back.
I'm a big fan of a laugh you could recognize. I think Britt Vasicek is one that I always think of. You can hear it like a mile away.
Oha had a good one.
Good laugh.
Oha had a good one. Yeah.
I do think Volume 3. Just one last thought on booking. I'm going to book a national comic. I think we've gone to that level for sure. And so trying to find somebody that I love that has some credits that I think people would know, I think would help us withdraw.
Connor's got a pretty decent amount of credits.
That's true.
Yeah. He booked, man. Well, as long as the committee approves. Send me a tape.
Never mind.
Now, I want to backtrack a little bit to something that you said here that kind of ties into what this show is about. You mentioned putting on a gala. Now, we talk a lot about defining what is a party. Is it one person, multiple people? Yeah. Now, what makes a gala, and what separates that from a party?
It's just a party
with
stress level. Just a lot of rich people in one place is really the more rich, the more disposable income, the better, because you're trying to raise money for your cause.
Okay,
right?
So a gala has a charity element to it.
Oh, big, yeah. I believe that by definition, but I might be wrong. I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'll look it up right
now. Yeah. We have no idea.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, basically, the more bougie, I guess you can make it. Whatever word I'm trying to say.
Bougie.
The more opportunity you have to raise more money for your cause. So they talk about black tie affair. A lot of times that's sort of a gala.
Oh.
Okay, we're getting it defined as a social occasion with special entertainments or performances. So nothing charity-wise. It just has to have a special performance.
Then whenever we've thrown house shows.
Yeah, those
are galas.
It's a crust
the effing gala.
Yeah.
There we go.
Your fanciest ball gown. See that's I'm looking at that now.
It's more uppity.
Oh well.
Yeah.
A gala can also just be a big celebration.
That's right. But yeah, generally there's a sit-down dinner element to it, and then some level of entertainment, or and a lot of times they'll have an auction, live auction is or a silent auction, just different types of ways to raise money in the actual event. So taking elements of that and adding and just taking a comedy spin on it is really what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's the best way to do comedy shows, is adapting all the things you already know into it. Like,
yeah. Now, I want to strip the charity away from the conversation for just a little bit.
Sure.
Same question. No charity. How do you party?
So this is a great question. My partying has evolved, and so I actually haven't. I used to be a huge partier. Like if you're looking at me and y'all can see me here on the thing, like just definitely a frat guy, and I was, and I actively play lacrosse, and like all the stereotypes are true, right? And so with that comes a lot of partying for sure over the years. In fact, there was at one point where the drinking side of partying, where I did a 6-beer funnel and just held it down. And if you're curious how that goes, the amount of pressure that comes through.
Yeah. What part of your body's tight
eyes.
there? Yeah.
Your eyes.
Eyes.
I thought my eyes were gonna pop out of my head.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I took it. This is in college, and
Wait, I think I have a sound for this. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Have you ever done a beer funnel?
Never 6. I've done of one tall boy, and that was enough for me. I can't.
Even that, right?
I don't have the eye pressure. I don't have the throat pressure. I don't know what I don't have, but I don't have it.
And then later that night, I did 3 more. So,
3 more 6-beer funnons?
Yeah. Oh no! I'm sorry. No, not 18. Okay, no.
Okay.
3 more beers.
Okay,
but even
gotcha.
Ghost. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so that was the level of partying that I was doing in college, and then that those habits kind of transition into after work and weekends.
Sure, they move on to 9 beers, 12 beers.
Yeah, 12, and then guys, I mean, last
9 to
weekend
5
24 beers in a funnel.
Yeah.
So.
That's when I need to wake up.
Let's just get my day started. But no, in all reality, I actually haven't had a drink in 14 months. So my partying is way different. But I'm not weird. I don't actually. In fact, I hate when it gets weird. So my idea of a party is there's got to be something else to do at your party. Like I was at one the other day and they had ping pong, and I was just like, that is going to be my spot for the entire duration of this party, and I'm going to challenge everybody that wants to play.
Do you play ping pong at the secret group?
A little bit, yeah.
What's your ranking over there? I know there's some.
I've
heavy
only
hitters.
played a few times. Victor beat me, but he was like, "Hey, you're one of the better ones," so that was good to know.
He said that after we interviewed him.
Yeah. Koo, Genty played him. I played a few folks over there. I need to play more.
I hear Brandout and Zide are the people to beat. Those are the top guns.
They're the final bosses.
Yeah. Have you played ping pong over there yet?
No,
it gets really competitive.
Yeah, no, I've worked in tech before. I know how ping pong goes.
And Will destroyed me. It was embarrassing.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's really good.
Wow. No, don't really mess with the ping pong too much. So, go ahead.
Oh, no, and then, we had a Super Bowl party at our house for the Super Bowl not too long ago, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, it was just about getting the gambling together, making sure I do a prop bet thing every year, so 30 questions, who's going to win the coin toss, heads or tails, and then usually there's some about the halftime show and all that. Yeah. So just keeping an eye on all that, keeping everybody updated, collecting money, doing all that. So there's and every party, in my opinion, should have some other elements than just getting drunk, right?
Yeah.
And so
that.
It's good to be able to be at least somebody that's thinking about that. And if it's not, and if it is all about drinking, I'm going to get pretty annoyed and bored really quick. So.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Mm-hmm. We tend to have fires as part of ours, and
not like have a bonfire.
Yeah, not like we're burning stuff. Like we have a fire pit.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because one of your questions you had me prepare for was your first party.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's actually it kind of goes back to comedy. Beginning of comedy for me. So I'm from New Hampshire originally. That's where the lacrosse kind of connection comes from. People in Texas are like, what are you talking about?
New England sports.
Yes, yeah. So, but parties back then was if we couldn't find, this is high school, you couldn't find a house party, that is where somebody's parents had left for the weekend, you would then have a bonfire somewhere in the woods, right? And so the first party I was brought to was actually literally snuck out of my window. And 2 older girls, came and picked me up, and they would take me to these parties, and we'd literally drink Zima. That's true. And so I remember the first party being, one of those bonfires, and later after many bonfires, what I would do is start bringing my guitar, and I play guitar. Sound like you're a musician too, right?
Yeah.
And I would make up these songs around the campfire that were entertaining, and that was literally probably my first really comedy entertainment.
Did you guys ever get caught coming home just smelling like fire? I feel like it's such a giveaway.
It is, yeah.
We had for a while. I grew up in Clear Lake. It was a kind of bayou area, and there was they would do parties that were kind of bonfire-ish, but they had 2 canoes because you couldn't get to it by land. You had to get one guy to come. He's like, "Welcome to the party," and you get in a canoe and he'd take you over. to this party spot, and they did this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and eventually cops came from the other side of the woods and like totally raided it because they're like, yeah, smoke comes up from here like every Saturday. We know exactly where you guys are. So yeah, I don't know. Did you guys ever get busted in these camping parties? Okay,
yeah, no question. There was one that we would hike to that just no cops would ever. Just there's only one cop in the town, so it was like 2 towns over, and he was so out of shape. There's no way.
You just had to get the higher ground.
Yeah, it's higher ground, right? And by the time we got back, he very well could have been down there, but all the evidence had already been consumed. So what was he going to do at that point?
Sitting there with a telescope, he's like, "Oh darn kids, I know they're up there."
It was quite a hike. I never was responsible for carrying the keg up, but the guy who always did always got really big props, right, for doing that work.
Who's the guy who pushes the boulder up the
Sisyphus?
Yeah, Sisyphus.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of those songs you used to sing back then? Or the
I do.
Hits?
Oh,
I
wow.
do. Yeah. In fact,
are they radio appropriate before we go further?
Who cares?
Yeah, you know what? We're trying to get canceled.
Certainly. I remember I used to make fun of this poor girl named Leslie, and I don't think she really hooked up with anybody, but the whole nature of the song is she hooked up with everybody, and everybody really liked that. So that was one. One that's a little closer to home, or that you might be a little bit more relatable. There's a song by TLC called "No Scrubs."
Oh yeah,
familiar.
Okay, so I had one that was called "No Drugs," and it was quite creative. Like I was able to kind of hit every single drug that you might even consider, and just have a good little rhyme to the rhythm.
With Jenkum in there, can you give us a Jenkum verse?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. I don't want.
I
no
could pull
drugs.
up a karaoke version of it.
Yeah, don't do that. I shouldn't be singing anyway. Honestly. But no, we don't want no drugs. We don't want your mushroom tea or PCP, and just kind of like those, that kind of line of thought. So it was good. That I actually did on open mics. That was before comedy open mics. I was doing musical open mics and just destroying it with these bad.
That kind of rules. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, it was great. It was good.
It sounds like the cops didn't really need anyone there. They had you making sure all the kids stayed off the drugs. You're their guy on the inside.
Sounds like they got it taken care of.
They always love the hall monitors. All right, so that was how you partied in high school. You mentioned that you were a frat guy. Tell us, what was your college partying experience like?
Yeah, I mean, it was usually just lots of beer pong. Actually, there was a game that was pretty unique that we played at our house, and I haven't really run into it much down in Texas.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about drinking games when Beth was on.
Oh,
she had some
yeah.
crazy
Beth
games.
Alder?
Yeah, she had one called Hammer.
Yeah,
What was
something
it
about
called?
hitting a hammer, hitting nails with a hammer.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I
what it's
never
called.
played it. I know what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
So what's this game?
this one is Beer Die. Have you heard Beer Die? And there's a lot of variations of it, but it's played with dice. Like
Oof.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what does the die mean?
If you don't drink a beer, you die.
Oh, my God, Dare was right. If I don't drink, I'm going to get killed.
Okay, so you have dice. So do they, or die rather, several?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming each number.
No, actually,
means-
no,
okay.
no, that's a good assumption, but it actually had nothing to do. It could have been a blank surface die. It could have even been honestly, it could have been the what's it, Scrabble, or the one that has the or not Scrabble, whatever the game is, categories. It didn't matter. It was just it was the object, and you would have to throw it to a certain height, and it was just kind of agreed upon in most games. We actually had a bar. But I played it where people just like, yeah, that didn't count. They were just, there's no replay.
What a great drinking game! Like, let's just leave it up to everyone.
You played at 7, and there's an opportunity for you to knock over a cup, and if the cup is empty, you take sips throughout the game. But if the cup is empty and you knock it over, subsequently you'd end up drinking a full beer and then refilling it. So it was there was times where you might drink like. In a really competitive game, 5 beers in a
wait. So I'm still trying to figure out. So you're throwing this dice up.
Mm-hmm.
It
Team
lands.
for 2.
Okay.
Ping pong table. Ping pong table. Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to hit something, or you're just trying to?
Yeah. So the object is you get it over the certain agreed upon.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you have to have it land on the ping pong table.
Whoops.
And then break something in the studio.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
And then.
Yeah, just put it up there.
So the object is to have it land on the ping pong table, bounce off, and hit the floor. And that's the point. So what's kind of neat about it is your 2 teammates are sitting down. You're playing defense.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you play to 7, and you have to catch it before it hits the floor.
Oh, oh man. Okay, I love this
It's a fun game. And then you've got 2 cups, right? And so you start with a full cup of beer. If they sink it into the cup, then you have to drink the entire beer.
Right.
If you hit the cup, then they have to take a sip. If they score a point, you have to take a sip. So that's kind of the whole rules of it. And then if it's an
general standard drinking game rules,
that kind of stuff. And you have four sips to finish your beer, so it's pretty frat guy intense drinking. And then once it's empty, it stays empty until you score a point, or until they knock it over. Knock it over is pound beer.
Yeah.
And then start over.
So, oh my God. Were you guys like running into each other's heads trying to keep it from hitting the ground? Like I can imagine just full body tackling.
It's that one is more, kind of sit down gentleman's game.
Oh yeah, you're sitting.
Yeah. But however, and actually if you get up, I think you're penalized for that. But
I love this.
Full
This is how we're eating dinner tonight.
I'll write down the rules for y'all because you need to play. If y'all I don't drink anymore, so it's no fun for me. But y'all do. But the other one is full contact beer pong, which sounds more along the lines of what you're talking about, right? Yeah, so if you get the ball, then you get to shoot again, right?
Yeah,
so, that's fun with the girls, right? So a lot of that type of stuff with women around, and then not quite gala status, but like we would have themed parties, right? And like,
man, we were talking about theme parties just last week. Okay, so what was one of your top themes, or did you guys have a recurring one?
No, we have tons, and I actually got to be social chair, so I got to plan these things.
You're an organized guy from the start, man.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's
plan
right.
a lot of parties.
Yeah,
and these frat parties were for charity, right?
They're supposed.
I think that was her name.
Where's the drop? I need a drop for that. That's perfect. Yes. Well done. So raising money for charity. We would golf pros and tennis hose was a popular one. Halloween was obviously a big one. Just whatever we could think of that would get anything but clothes. ABC.
Yeah. We've both had.
I've done an ABC. I threw an ABC party. I threw it, and I was so excited. And when people started showing up, I was like, oh, it's a sexy party. Because I wore a potato sack. And I was really itchy. I was like, I emptied the potatoes out. I cut a hole in it, and I put it on. And everyone's showing up and like, I'm wearing cellophane, and it's like,
you're just like covered in ticks.
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
I did the cellophane thing when I did mine, and I didn't realize like just how hot they got. I was just like sweating. I had like 2 beers, and I was like plastered. I had to like cut a hole to go to the bathroom. It was no planning.
40 hands, right? Edward 40 hands. Y'all done that one?
Have you played that one?
I played that. Yeah, we did that a lot at UTSA.
Yeah.
We always talked about Edward 40 knees would be a funny way, because it's like then you can use your hands, and then when you're done drinking your 40, and you have to drink your 40s like this. Like you have to curl up in a ball. But once you're done, you have to power slide to a Who song and bring your bottles. No one actually did it. It's great in theory.
We loved 80s. We were like a big 80s music house, so we loved the 80s themes was a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Those are always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, we got to, and then while I was in college, so I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I was in the New England area. I went to University of New Hampshire, and we won 3 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots and World Series with the Red Sox. And so couches were on fire, and like we had pretty renowned riots, and like half the campus got arrested. I wasn't one of them, so that's the good news. But not that I wasn't participating.
I just read about it.
Yeah. But being social chair, being able to plan Super Bowl parties at that time is, I guess, something like you guys pointed out. I still do that at my house today. These are the things I learned in college, guys.
It's truly, it's not what you learn in the classrooms. It's what you learn at the college that you take with you.
All right. I personally hate college.
That's why I'm
and all those
good.
atheist professors. So I wanted to know, you talked about the riots happening. Can I ask, what was it like being at Ground Zero for that moment? Like the moment that someone's like, hey, I'm going to light this on fire, or let's flip this car. Like, what was the tipping point?
Unfortunately, and I will claim this, that I not too long ago at White Linen Night up in the Heights, I was at Ground Zero of a cat fight, like a girl fight. I didn't know how they started. It's pretty remarkable. This is sorry to go on a tangent, but just my mind was blown. They start by popping out their hoop earrings. It's just pop, 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 and I didn't know. And they hand them to their friend, and then they fight. So anyway, that's what that's like. But it's quick, quick little tidbit. But as far as riots starting. Somebody just kind of, I think somebody starts rocking a car, and then somebody gets in a tree, and then somebody takes a sign, and then somebody starts a fire, and then tear gas, bullet. It escalates so.
It's a Rube Goldberg machine. You don't know where it starts.
Sounds very organic.
Yeah,
absolutely. In our house, our fraternity house is right in the middle of campus, so right at the epicenter of it. I wish I could have pinpointed the exact starting point, but I mean, it's like if you watch like '92, like the LA riots, and you can see that it's starting right at that courthouse, and like that's where it begins. It wasn't quite. I mean, it was just all over campus and probably all over New England. You know what I mean?
I imagine. Yeah.
So that's a celebratory riot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you think that Houston could have like a more celebratory riot?
You know, I've been here 11, 12 years, and I just don't know that people care enough. I don't know.
The city's really, it's so big that like there's no
You're
unifying like celebration, and I think that's why like I think people care. They just don't care in a group setting ever.
Yeah,
you know?
We didn't even loot
except
during
for when
Harvey.
Yeah, except for when
people
do
don't
the
loot
someone
here.
Sign.
Yeah. I was disappointed we didn't have enough looting.
Yeah.
I think people are just like, I want to
Really
stay.
let down by my town.
They just want to like stay home and hope that you do too. Just stay out of my backyard. That kind of mindset.
I know. I don't know. Were y'all here in the 95, 94, 95? And they, like Richmond Ave was the kind of seemed like the epicenter of the.
I was living in Clear Lake at the time, so not
yeah.
really in Houston, but.
But you know, I remember watching the Rockets, deal, and that was before Joel Osteen took over that. But that was where it all kind of took place, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand, up and down Richmond. But we don't really have. I mean, I say all that. We went to me and my son. I'm a Red Sox fan, but he's a Astros fan because we did we go to games every year and went to the big parade downtown.
Yeah,
that was
Do
cool.
you remind your son that his heroes are cheaters? Do you get in his face and tell him? Do you like slam the trash can in the kitchen and be like, sound like anything?
I will say that I had Bregman came to one of my comedy shows that I was hosting at the Rec Room the other day, and I was like, I just had, you guys excited for your headliner and clapping. I'm like, I heard some trash cans banging together. Oh, Bregman is over there. Yeah, so that was kind of a fun little jab.
How did he take it? Did he take it on?
He's cool. Yeah.
Okay. All right. He's like, we did that.
Can you blame them?
And they pulled the Red Sox into all that whole deal. So.
Oh yeah, we went down swinging.
Hey, that's how baseball works.
Yeah. I just, I'm a Patriots fan, and we've been on the other side of this for a long time. So it's just good to be around y'all. And,
How do you feel about that? Do you like that your team cheats?
Do I like it? I mean, I like that they win, man. It's and really, I'm actually not as big a sports fan as I once was.
Okay.
I'm really more of a comedy nerd now than anything. But I still go to a Patriots game every year with my buddies, which used to be our opportunity to really rage like we were in college again. And this past year, interestingly enough, I'm like, hey guys, I don't really drink anymore, and they were all cool with it. Like, when you're in your late 30s, they're like, I get it. Like, I don't want to you don't have any hangovers anymore. Like, how do I stop? Like, what do you?
Yeah, that's like Jackass 3. Steve-O quit drinking, so they all did.
Yeah. Maybe next time we'll do it. But anyway, we all get together, and by the time the game on Sunday, we've been there all weekend. It's like, the game, but it's really about us kind of getting together and bringing people together. So. We've only got we'll see if Brady comes back, but there's only a little bit of time left on this thing, and it's been a great ride. I'm glad we cheat.
I've heard people before say like, I loved it we cheat. I loved it we're the villains. Like no one can take that from us. Like cry all you want. And I feel like here for the Astros, like I still haven't stopped wearing my Astros hat. I did wear it in Vegas, and I got some stares.
Oh yeah.
Nobody said anything. But people were looking at me. Or it could have been the fact that I was legally stoned. I don't know. But I definitely was like, oh, man, everybody's looking at me because I'm wearing this Astros hat.
They probably weren't. I'm used to that. I wear my Patriots hat, and the people they'll say something to you. I mean, you get used to that. Yeah, I mean, it's Patriots, man, And I really don't like being, do you enjoy the villain side of it? I don't enjoy it.
I don't like being a villain. Our friend of the show, Cody, we do a sports show together sometimes, and we've talked extensively about this. We didn't need to do it. We didn't need to cheat.
Right.
So that's the embarrassing part about it.
It's true.
I've noticed that no one's really talking about it online. And the first time that anyone said anything about it was this bachelor party. One of the members, I put the hat on, he went, oh, cheaters. And I'm like, huh? No. Oh, no. So I did bring my Rockets hat as a backup just in case. And I wore that one day, and I was like, all right, I'm going back to the Astros hat. I know. I care more about that team anyway. So yeah, no, I don't like it, but I also don't think that my friends and family are really acknowledging it and talking about it. I think we're just like,
I think everyone kind of got silent about it.
yeah, let's move on.
It's gonna be a weird season. You know, they're down in spring training now, and it's just having who's it Dusty Baker? Who they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just gonna be weird without AJ Hinch there and stuff. And God, man, that game was it Game 5 here that was just such a magical the one where they went back and forth the Dodgers and
man, yeah,
that was that I watched the highlights from that, and I'm not even an Astros fan. And just every now and again I'll remember remember that game and watch the 10-minute clip of that and just. Be like, these guys are cheaters. I actually haven't done it. I haven't done it from that lens yet. I need to.
Have you caught any? Connor's an XFL Roughnecks fan. Have you caught any of these XFL games yet?
I haven't. I've got friends that go down there and dress up as Roughnecks. And they're
what is that?
They got invited on the field.
It's the guy who works on an oil rig.
Yeah, so you just put on
put on a hard hat
and a hard hat is their
and
deal.
a safety vest.
That's got to be so hot at a game.
I hate the XFL. I hate every logo in the league. I just look at that league and just hate it.
Really?
And the Houston actually is the best of them all.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I heard they're on top right. I really want to go to a game just to see it.
We're undefeated, 4-0. We just kicked Dallas' ass. Sorry. And then I do think that Houston has the best logo in that league. I like it better than the Texans logo.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Texans logo is very uninspiring.
I just don't like the name Texans. It's such a dumb
Houston
team
Texans.
Name.
I agree.
Give us an animal.
Yeah, we could have been the Rattlesnakes, the Rattlers,
Gators,
Houston Rattlers.
I got not Gators.
Was it up for debate at the time? I wasn't here.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was very, very young when it happened.
Oilers was that?
Oilers was our big thing. Then they moved to Tennessee, became the Titans.
And we hate Bud Adams, right? Everybody hates Bud Adams.
My stepdad does. Again, I
had
no dog in that race. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I'm only getting into football because of the XFL, because I feel like I'm at the ground floor of something beautiful, like a car wreck.
Yeah, I was saying, and then 1 month later, you'll be at the ground floor of a riot as it ends. Yeah.
So, I guess a couple questions then for you: Are stars emerging? Are we starting to? Is there a Deshaun Watson of the?
Not yet. There's a lot of clips of people fumbling the ball, getting hit in the face with the ball. One guy at the very first. Because keep in mind, the Roughnecks game, I believe, was the first one in the league, and. One guy puked on the field.
Yes.
He threw up on the field right before the snap, and when they interviewed him, he's like, "Oh man, everybody asked me about that. I just chugged a Gatorade. I was excited."
The best part about this clip is no one reacts. Like all the other players around him are just like still stoked, like just ready to go. He's like, ugh.
Yeah, I think it's just par for the course at that point. It's really silly. I went to the first home game, and everyone around us was leaning into it. And they were like, "He's been like this all season." And it was like, "We always do this." Like,
Classic Knicks.
It's very funny. Yeah, rough them up, Knicks.
Nice. So everybody's kind of in the humor of the fact that it's brand new.
Yeah, we're
and
getting.
Like we can, okay,
you're not
that's
getting
kinda
sold
cool.
a team.
Like
you're getting sold an entire league, like
Yeah.
a variation of a sport.
I watched it. So the next question, watching it live, there's stuff on. So watching it on TV, there's a lot of value because they mic everybody up, right?
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
But do you get that experience? I don't think you get that in the
Not
stadium.
when you're in the stadium. No.
So that's kind of bogus. Like that's like one of the values. And then there's some slight rule changes, but in stadium versus NFL, what other recognizable things are there?
There's
a lot more empty seats at the XFL game. The food is terrible because it's at U of H, and the staff is all college students that are idiots and they take forever.
You know what they should do is like a silent disco situation to where if you do want to hear everyone mic'd up, you put on a headphone, turn it, and you can go like player to player.
That's solid. That should be the evolution of it.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something, man. You hearing this, Vince?
Which he is. He's our only listener.
Yeah, Ned's ideas is when he's just like, in the meme. So one thing that I did notice that I have never seen at an NFL game is there was a moment where the game stops and all we hear are boos and just like really loud boos, and everyone's starting to look around, can't figure it out, and the booing's getting louder and louder and louder. And then we see a security guard has grabbed a beach ball being passed around the audience, and she's deflating it. And I was like, boo! Like, yes, we are at a college campus.
And here's the best. I mean, that can now, because it's ground level, that can just happen every game.
Yeah.
I hope it has.
The beach ball's got to get bigger and bigger.
That's right.
Well, we're hoping to go when Dallas comes back around in April. So if that happens, I will bring a beach ball.
I'll be in one of those zoo. What are those? The
like
bouncy house,
like Wayne Cohn has.
Yeah,
and Flaming Lip, the big inflatable balls.
Yeah. Is it a Zoosk? That's a dating app?
Zoosk? Yeah, that's dating.
Something like that.
Zorb? Is that it? I don't think so.
I'm gonna look. I would take Zorb over Zoosk.
These are all Greek gods.
Now, one last thing I'll say about the XFL. While watching it on TV is very cool because you get to whenever a play is called into question, or if the refs are deliberating, they will cut to someone in this like main control room who's communicating either with the coaches or the refs. Is like, what the hell was that? Oh, you're gonna have to run that play again. That was not what it was. Yeah.
So they play that.
Played that. They showed the feed of a guy looking at the footage and be like, oh, that's holding.
Like, there's like cartoon sounds in there.
Yeah, they should. Man, we got to get in on the ground floor of this. I'm going to look up what's going on with the Roughnecks.
I was telling Matt for swimwear department, it was like, we could probably play halftime. If we ask hard enough,
nah,
we could
you
probably
can't.
just...
No halftime show.
No halftime show?
All right, halftime is 10 minutes. Well, wait. Actually, you could have, if you had a 10-minute set, I bet you could. Because there's no cheerleaders and no mascot, but I guarantee you they need something.
They have no cheerleaders?
No cheerleaders.
Man, I thought I'm old enough to remember the original XFL, and it was like it's supposed to be more violent, and I think it was supposed to be more titties, and that was like the ingredients of...
Yeah,
and
2000...
like, weird names. Like they had like weird names, right?
Yeah,
like,
2001 was just a different time. It's 2016. Come on. Or wait, no, it's 2020. Boy, it's 2020. Yeah.
Oh, no.
2016.
All right. Unfortunately, we have to wrap this show up. This really flew by. I wanted to ask a few questions about Ha Ha for Hope, but before I can do that, I got to bring it into my last segment here. Just getting the computer all ready to go here.
Moving at lightning speeds. Electric speeds. Oh, there it is.
There we go. I want a new plug. Tell us what's going on. Tell us all the stuff you're doing after we sing this song. All right, Brian, what do you have to plug today?
Yeah, it's obviously Ha for Hope. I mean, that's that's on Wednesday at the Improv. It starts at 6. It's like a business networking type deal. So if you want to come in and just kind of mix and mingle, get some drinks at the bar. If you're familiar with the Improv, there's a front area, so you don't even need tickets to come to that part. We're trying to fly trap people into that. Like, just come this far, and then why wouldn't you come into the comedy show? But we have a step and repeat, so people take pictures. We did that last show, and I've still got that thing, so I'll set that up. And then we move in for a 7 p.m. start. Never starts on time, so 7-ish. You kind of got to let at the Improv, let everybody sit down, let them kind of get their initial orders out of the way as best you can, because otherwise you're up against that when you're doing your material. And anyway, so the way it works, we have our I'll bring our cause up, the Hearts Company. They're going to say a few words about what they're doing, and then Brian does time up top, and then we do our comedy contest. So featuring 6 comics.
Wow.
Yeah. So awesome. All people that helped me out with the first show. So
perfect.
Yep.
Excellent.
And wrestling belt for the winner and feature on the next show.
So, very, very cool. Right. What about social media? Where can we find more information there?
Ha Ha for Hope. Very simple. So Ha HAHAFORHOPE. Thank you very much. And that's on Instagram and Facebook is probably the best 2 places to catch us. I think on Twitter, which I'm not really a big fan of, it's Ha number 4 Hope, but who cares? It's and then you can find me, the Brian Gendron. So I'm on Instagram mostly, where I post shows and other stuff that I'm into. I'm into quite a bit of things. So
excellent,
fantastic.
Ned, have anything to plug?
At Net of the Dead on all social media. This Thursday, I will not be at Futile Society Improv, but you should check it out. It's there every Thursday.
Where you going?
But I will be opening for Dan Deacon at White Oak Music Hall. I am so stoked. As he's a hero of mine, so this is going to be a really good show that I hope I don't screw up. And then what else is coming up? I feel like there's something more happening.
You're going to like South by Southwest.
South by
and all that
Southwest.
crap.
Just text me if you're in Austin. March 14th, St. Arnold's putting out the new Headliner beer, and Swimwear Department is playing that show. We're headlining, so the beer is us. If you want to drink us, come out to that show.
Yeah.
And that's all I got for right now. Connor, what about you?
I'm going to a wedding, so I'm excited about that. I'll be in Lake Charles, coming on home. I'll be home. I'll be in Venton, Louisiana for a little bit, swing by B&B bar, see my Aunt Judy and them. After that, what do I got going on March 17th? Oh, yeah, it's the yet again, 10th year anniversary, we think, of Snake Diaspora Day.
That's right, friends.
And I will be hosting Grown Up Storytime at Rudyard's at 8 p.m. Come on out, see the show. You guys know I love Snake Diaspora Day. You know I'm a real goofball about it. You know I hate St. Patrick's Day. And if you've ever seen me host Grown Up Storytime before, you know I bring my A game. You know I do everything I can to make sure that you have a very nice experience. And this is the first time it'll be on Snake Diaspora Day since 2015. I remember Billy and I did like a thing before Good Evening at one point. So, yeah, come on out. See me be incredibly passionate, incredibly fun night of stories. Follow me on Twitter at CryptoCurrency. Stop following me on Instagram. I'm getting off of that. If you've seen it, you know I've deleted almost everything. Don't add me on Facebook. I'm finally getting rid of Zuck. I'm raising my middle finger to Zuckerberg.
Nice.
And I'm embracing Jack Dorsey before he inevitably gets ousted from Twitter thanks to the new corporate takeover. That's all I got. Brian, do you have any closing words for our listeners?
hahaforhope.com is where you get your tickets. So hahaforhope.com, get your tickets. It's going to be a really fun night. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, God bless you for doing this kind of work, man. Thank you so much. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.